Hi, I'm Melissa Mattinzi. Welcome to the Plymouth School Committee candidate interview. I want to take a moment to thank our candidate for participating in this interview and collaborating with PACTV to bring the informational programming to residents and voters this election season. Let me explain the format. Today, Margie Burgess will be interviewed. Margie will have 2 minutes to introduce herself, speak about her background, qualifications, and why she's running for office. I'll then ask a series of questions related to local issues. Margie will be hearing the questions for the first time during this forum, and she'll have 2 minutes to answer the questions. After the questions, she'll have 2 minutes for closing remarks. The 2-minute time frame will be shown on the screen for her to see. We're going to get started with opening statements, and Margie, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. And thank you very much for offering me this opportunity to interview for school committee. But I really wish to thank all of our staff, teachers, and everybody just for the exceptional work that they've done educating our kids in these very, very troubled and changing times. And I'm running for re-election for our school committee to continue moving forward with the changes that COVID has brought to us. Our administrative staff have all changed due to retirements, and our staff has had a monumental change in the way they perform. Teachers going remote and hybrid, and again in-person learning. Custodians who have had to deal with our air circulations, moving desks and chairs, disinfecting, and everyone has pitched in and done an awesome job. There are so many others too that have helped us move forward. The entire staff should be honored. I kind of forgot the people that were putting up all the food for the children, because that has been also a big task and so much effort. And this year, of course, they were all free. So that's good, both breakfast and lunch. Thank you.
Thank you, Margie. We're going to start with our questions now. And question number 1 is, given what we've learned and experienced over the past year, what, if anything, would you have done differently in relation to the schools? And you have 2 minutes for your response.
Wow. Well, times have changed so much that it's hard to pick out one thing that you do differently. But because I've always stayed active and involved and been there. And whether some people think what I've done is right or wrong is their own opinion. So I can't go by that. But I think that we've done some wonderful things, and we're going to have to be different going forward. I think that we can't even plan on going back to the same thing we ever had. Life has changed for all of us in many ways. So my biggest concern, I don't know if you're getting into concerns, but my biggest concern, of course, has always been the vulnerable children. And I wanted them back in school early, and they really needed it because their counseling was there, their food was there. It was just a very, very important thing is to have them there. And so that did happen. So that was a good thing. And the other concern that I have is the social emotional issue. And I'd like to address that later if it's coming up at all. Yeah. But other than that, I think that I'm okay.
Okay. Thank you, Margie. We're going to move on to question 2 now. And what is the one thing that you think residents in town should understand about managing the school budget? And again, you have the 2-minute response time for that.
Yeah. Well, managing the school budget is difficult, but we really haven't increased it much because it's mostly payroll and all that goes for the school budget. So there isn't really much left. We had everybody cut everything to the bone, and of course we don't know what's going to come through with the COVID and how much money actually we'll receive or get for sure. So it's a very difficult time on school budgets. but usually the school keeps things at a minimum, and but yet has to meet our needs, or the needs of the students that we're serving. So it's a delicate balance, but we work on it, and we voted on it in December, and we'll see how things move along as we're going now. Yeah. So we have to put money aside sometimes for certain things. This year is negotiations, and there's all kinds of factors that play into it that you can't even figure yet.
Great. Thank you for the response, Margie. And we're going to move on to our third question. In your opinion, do Plymouth schools have a problem when it comes to diversity, inclusion, and equity? And what could our schools do to improve the outcomes in these areas? And again, you have the 2 minutes.
Okay. We do. We have a committee about diversity and inclusion. And 5 of us on the school committee are on it in various ways. I'm on the portion that's for curriculum. But we also have health equity and hiring and retention and education committees. So we're working on that, and we're working on it in order to make it a part 2 of our strategic plan going forward. So we are very busy with it. We meet every month, and we meet separately with our breakout committee too. So it's a very good group.
Okay, great. And now, Margie, we're going to move on to our closing remarks.
All right. I was going to talk about social emotional. Do I have time on that, on what I have?
You can add it to your closing remarks if you'd like.
Okay. All right. I would have liked to have included it with that, but okay, never mind.
Okay.
So my closing statement would just be to thank everybody again, and hopefully I get your vote. I have been a 23-year member of the school committee, but I've been active in the town for many years. I'm a lifelong citizen. I'm on capital outlay. I've been a register of voters, 18 years a town meeting member. I'm on the town building committee. I'm chairman of the town's energy committee. So I really keep going, and hopefully that moves forward. I do want to say something about social emotional. I'm so glad that the students are now back in school, so that we'll be able to see how it's affected the children. We've worried about it, but we really didn't know. When you don't see them, you can't tell. And I don't think even they always know until they're back into their usual settings. So I'm worried about the mental health issues moving forward, trauma, anxiety, depression, disconnected students that were isolated from not seeing their friends. And so we need to create a caring and safe learning environment for them that'll assist them with any emergencies they have and follow up. So we need to put in student learning supports for the disconnected too. So anyway, and I just want to add that as a part of my ending. I am a big supporter too of the arts. I think that there's a lot of kids who come to school that need something. Many do sports, but the others do arts. And so I am a huge supporter of that, and all the vulnerable. And
Margie, we've hit the 2-minute mark. Thank you.
I hit it. Yeah.
Thank you, Margie. And I want to thank you for participating in the interview today. And we wish you the best of luck throughout your campaign and in the upcoming election. Vedna, with your opening remarks, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, and thank you, PACTV, for holding this forum. Hello, my name is Vedna Haywood, and I am running for re-election for the Plymouth School Committee. I'm running because I'd like to continue the commitment to excellence that we already have in our school district. We have a great school district, and for the past 3 years, I've been part of the team that continues to guide us there. A little bit about me. I am a wife and a mother of a young son within our district. My family and I have been residents of Plymouth for the last 12 years, and in that time, I've served the community in many capacities, serving on multiple boards and committees at the local level, as well as the state and federal. I've been a nurse for about 20 years, serving in the area of surgical burn trauma in the ICU. I have a degree in nursing, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in nursing as a family practitioner because I want to extend my capability of service to the community. Service and advocacy have always been my way of giving back to a country that has given me so much. My community service work started as a teenager doing missions work here in the US and abroad, and now has translated into a civically engaged adult who is now mentoring others towards service. It would be my honor to continue the work on the Plymouth School Committee. In these past 3 years as your school committee member, I've learned the importance of collaboration, not only with my fellow members, but with the administration, teachers, staff, and community. And with the approval of the committee and administration, I've had the unusual opportunity to suggest and help implement supplemental programming, not only for students, but for the engagement of our families. And because of this work, I was humbly recognized with the Massachusetts Association School Committee's All-State Award this past November. I've learned that the best advocate for our students is not only their teachers, but their families. And that community input is paramount to an equitable, fair education for all students. I know this past year has had its share of adversity, but through the steadfast commitment of our community and its constituents, we've also seen the resolve and a stronger Plymouth.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
We hit the 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So we're going to move on to the first question. Given what we've learned and experienced over the past year, what, if anything, would you have done differently in relation to the schools? And you have 2 minutes for your response.
I think probably what I would have done differently, I think I would have advocated for more community input in terms of the decision making that we made over the summer. I think that because of the lack of guidance at the state level, it was difficult for us to kind of like rally. We were able to kind of pivot, but I think it would have been best if we had actually had the input of our teachers, of our families, and the community when we made the decision going forward in terms of whether we were staying remote, hybrid, or otherwise.
Great, thank you for the answer. For our next question, let me reset the clock here. For question 2. What's the one thing you think that residents should understand about managing the school budget? And you have the 2 minutes.
Okay. I think the residents should perhaps understand, and maybe the understanding that I've gained in this first term is the needs of our students and the cost associated with those needs, and the cost associated with having the ability to provide particular programs within our school district, transportation costs that unfortunately, due to us being one of the largest towns, but not necessarily a regional district, we incur those costs. And so in order for us to continue the excellence at the level that we have in our district, it does cost money. But yet I also understand the burden of the taxpayer. And so throughout this year, especially given, COVID, as well as our remote nature, we were able at least to this year come in, at a level fund budget. So just for the community to understand that in order to educate our children, in order to pay our teachers and our staff, there is a cost to this education.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Okay. And we're going to move on to our last question, which is question 3. In your opinion, do Plymouth schools have a problem when it comes to diversity, inclusion, and equity? And what could our schools do to improve the outcomes in those areas? And again, you're going to have 2 minutes for a response to this question.
Okay. A problem as opposed to not, so I I think the issue is that perhaps we are behind in terms of, what is truly equitable within our district. I think that we are beginning to make strides in terms of actually identifying some of the issues that we have, the lack of diversity within our staff, the support that we have for particular students, whether that be socioeconomics, whether that be students of color, whether that be gender identity. I think that we could work harder in terms of even our curriculum and who is represented in our curriculum in terms of those stories, and actually presenting a school or preparing our students for a globalized world. So if it's I wouldn't necessarily say it's a problem, but it is somewhat of a disparity. So I think we're beginning to do some of that work. I think we still have a lot to do. And I think that at least there's a recognition of, and there's attempts to be made. There are attempts that are being made. So yes.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to move on now to closing remarks. Let me just reset. Okay. And for your closing remarks, you'll also have the 2 minutes, and those will start now for you.
All right. So once again, I'm Vedna Haywood, and I'm running for school committee, Plymouth Public School Committee, because I believe the importance of a quality public education for everyone. In my first term as a school committee member, I had the honor of not only working with the committee to create better partnerships within the community in the district, but to serve the constituents of Plymouth. I've learned that an effective school committee member contributes their own perspectives while collaborating as a team with other members, the administration, the superintendent, and the town. With children as the ultimate focus, I will continue to work together to accomplish the committee's and district's goal. As a school committee member, I will continue to work with the district to learn what additional resources are needed to support them, further promoting a successful learning environment in our classrooms. I still want to be a conduit for parents, educators, and the community, along with the school committee, to encourage questions and conversations and to promote engagement. The past 3 years have been an unforgettable experience, and with this past year being one of variance, unexpected loss, but also hope and reimagining. As a community, we face these year's obstacles and still serve the Plymouth community to the best of our ability and beyond. While Plymouth does have a good school system, we are faced with bridging and filling the gaps that were left wide open in the wake of this pandemic. And though the work may appear daunting, I look forward to reaching out and collaborating with community members and the district to come up with solutions. I feel like I bring a unique perspective to the school committee, and I believe I'm qualified to remain as a committee member and represent the community, and also keep working for the excellence of Plymouth Public Schools. I have enough experience now to have built an effective working relationship, but I'm also new enough on the board so I could still bring a fresh perspective. So please vote for me, Vedna Haywood, for Plymouth School Committee, May 15th. Thank you.
Vedna, thank you. Thank you for participating in the interview. We wish you the best of luck in your campaign and in the election. So we're going to get started with your opening statement, Kim, and now you have 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Kim Savory Hunt, and I'm seeking re-election for the position of school committee member for Plymouth Public Schools. I grew up at Plymouth and attended Plymouth schools, as did my 3 children. I work as a regional field consultant for an educational franchise company, helping students across North America excel academically. Besides my work on the school committee, I am the vice president of the Plymouth Fragment Society, a charitable organization that helps Plymouth residents in need. I've been serving as chairwoman of the school committee since July, and it has been a very challenging year, as I'm sure everyone will agree. I have had the honor of serving on the advocacy, capital outlay, distinguished visitors, policy, safety, and strategic planning committees. I also serve as the Division III Chair of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, as well as the Chair of the Legislative Committee. My time on the school committee has been very rewarding. I have a passion for education, our youth, and Plymouth. It's been an honor and privilege to serve the community. As a local, state, and national PTA leader, I have had the opportunity to work on educational policy and laws that affect us locally and impact Plymouth students directly, such as nutrition, academic standards, equality, funding, and school safety. Through these experiences, I've been fortunate to have a seat at the table, and this gives me the ability to have firsthand knowledge of educational policy's priorities. I've worked alongside experts in the field of education and policy making, and I am fortunate to tap into these resources when I need more information. I believe it is important to listen to everyone, do my research, and have an open mind in order to make the best possible decision for all of our students. I take this responsibility very seriously and make every effort to become informed and make the decisions that will be the best interest of our students. As your elected school committee member, my door is always open.
Thanks, Kim. That was great. So we're going to move on to our first question. Given what we've learned and experienced over the past year, what, if anything, would you have done differently in relation to the schools? And you have 2 minutes.
So this has been a very challenging year, and I'm sure that we all know. Everyone has a different opinion. People are very passionate when it comes to their child and advocating for their child, and I support that 100%. I think if we could have sat back and done one thing different, it would be to get more input from the community members. I would have loved to have seen some community forums, some kind of a town hall, open forum where parents can ask questions. We can be more forthright with the answers. It's been hard communication-wise. There's been a lot of information out there that hasn't necessarily been accurate. And I think the more opportunities that we have to present ourselves or write our own narrative as a school would have been a better opportunity. So if I had to change anything, I think it would be to get more impact from the community.
Great, thanks, Kim. So we're going to move on to the second question. And question number 2 is, what is one thing you think residents should understand about managing the school budget? And again, you have the 2 minutes.
I wish that they knew the amount of work that goes into the school budget. By the time that it gets to the community, we have over 20 opportunities to present it in public. But the amount of work that is done beforehand, I just can't give enough credit to the principals, the cost center managers, the administrators. We go back and forth and cut and sharpen our pencils several times before it reaches the public. And I think it's hard for people to understand that because sometimes they'll come back to us and tell us that we should cut a little bit more. And we've already done that. So I think that's, a really important part for the community to know. Also, we made a promise when we passed the full day kindergarten years ago. We made a promise to the community. It was right around the same time we had our 2 schools approved. We would not add any more programs. We would not add anything else to the budget, and we haven't. And I think it's hard for the community sometimes to understand that even though our dollar amount on our budget is a little bit more, we haven't added anything new. A lot of that is contractual agreements. A lot of that is just the increase in cost. But we really, in the last few years, have not added anything. And this year has been even a bigger challenge because we don't know what's going to face us next year. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how much more money it's going to cost us to remediate, to fill in the gaps, to make up for the year that we've had. And we don't know what's coming down from the federal and the state government. We hope we're going to get some nice subsidies, but we don't know.
Great. Thanks for that, Kim. So we're going to move on to our last question. And that is, in your opinion, do Plymouth schools have a problem when it comes to diversity, inclusion, and equity? And what could our schools do to improve outcomes in those areas? And your 2 minutes starts now.
Great. I'm glad you asked that question. It's actually part of my closing statement. I think we have a lot of work to do as far as inclusion, diversity, and equity. And it's funny, I just shut off. I'm taking a class at the University of San Francisco, Southern Florida, on diversity in the workplace. So I just finished a seminar on that right now, and I'm also on the diversity committee at my work, as well as the diversity committee for the town. We are not a diverse community. We are becoming more diverse, more so than when I went to school. Our workforce is not diverse. Our school staff is not diverse. We need to look for ways to attract more diverse teachers. Our students really need to see somebody that they can identify in a mentor, leader, teacher role. I know that it's a problem across the state right now, so we have a lot of work to do, but we also need to make sure that we service our students and our families that are more diverse. And we're making steps in the right direction. I think this last year, this summer, with everything that's been going on, it's getting harder. And sometimes I feel like we're moving backwards instead of forwards. I do believe with this diversity committee, we're doing a lot of work. We've got subcommittees for education, workforce, health, but we do definitely have a lot more to do. I don't believe in one-time events. So like one big workshop or one big rally for the students. I believe programs are more effective. So I'd like to see us try to implement some more programs.
Great. Thank you. And now we move into the closing remarks. So for your closing remarks, you have your 2 minutes.
We don't run for the school committee for the sheer joy of closing schools, disrupting education, and cutting budgets for the education of our children. We didn't plan on shifting gears so rapidly to move learning to remote platforms, and we didn't anticipate difficult measures to get students back into a learning mode or to face the challenges of restoring the emotional well-being of children whose lives have been so greatly disrupted during the pandemic. But our schools and our school committee members took on this challenge and made the best decisions we could, given the fact that none of us had experienced a pandemic like this. The next few years will require special attention for our students. They're returning to school from isolation, restrictions, and the challenge of spending much time in front of a computer with the ability to be with their classmates, engage in activities, participate in sports, or even sit in a cafeteria and build relationships that last a lifetime. There will be significant learning loss. We need to identify which students will need extra attention in order to fill the gaps and provide them with support and resources. Some kids did well in remote, while others struggled. We need to look at this and realize that we need to change the way we educate each individual child. Diversity and equity have become more important than ever for both our educator workforce and in how we educate and support our students, teachers, and families. We must be better. As we have discussed before, we must continue to ramp up our civics education. We all know how fragile our democracy is and how important it is for our students to understand why civic engagement is so important. And we must prepare for the future. I thank you for this opportunity to speak to you, and I would be honored to earn one of your votes so I can continue to serve the Plymouth community for another 3 years.
Kim, thank you so much. And thank you for participating in the interview. Well, we wish you good luck for the campaign and in the election. So let's get started. Kathy, we're ready for your opening statement, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you to PACTV for offering this opportunity. Having grown up in Plymouth, I'm happy to be raising my 9-year-old daughter here who is attending Plymouth Public Schools. I'm running for school committee because I care about this town and the people in it. I want to support the public education that benefits us all. Starting my own photography business following a long career in finance has taught me tenacity, as well as having required me to be organized and determined. I'm driven to apply these skills to help the town of Plymouth. Throughout the years, I have been involved in the Rotary Club, Big Brother, Big Sister at Nathaniel Morton, and the Plymouth Family Network PTAs. I'm also an active member of the No Place for Hate Committee and the Land Use and Acquisition Committee. I don't have to remind anyone of how many changes and trauma have happened over the last year. The two biggest challenges we face going forward are the social emotional health of our students and staff, as well as helping to close the gap in learning that has only maybe been made wider by this year. The teachers and staff have done a phenomenal job helping our students to move forward and remain resilient over the past year, but we have much work ahead. I have taken many different roles, both philanthropic and business-minded, that qualify me to bring my all to the school committee as a member. The most important role to me is that of a mother of a student in the schools. I am your representative. I will approach this role with an open mind, the ability to work together to support the education of our students and the livelihood of our teachers. I'm here to listen to you and represent you in a meaningful way.
Thank you, Kathy, for your opening statement. And now we're going to move to our first question. Given what we've learned and experienced over the past year, what, if anything, would you have done differently in relation to the schools? You have 2 minutes.
I want to say first that I think the schools have done a phenomenal job. It's been a big challenge to know what the right decision is, and there really is no right decision for any one student. If I was going to do things differently, I think there probably could have been more things in place early on to give a little bit more transparency to what people were stepping into at the beginning of the year so that they could make a more educated choice. But then going forward, I think the school committee tried to do everything that they could, as well as the staff, to keep our children safe and to keep things moving forward. I also think with relation to the middle school and the high school, that was a very difficult decision to say when exactly to go back. And I think having more information is always a good thing when it comes to that. I probably would have given the teachers a little bit more time to be vaccinated, but I also understand the need to get students back in school and the social and emotional impact that it takes on students to be home. My own daughter was in remote schooling for a while, and I know that affected her anxiety, and that being back in school was helpful. So I can respect that it's never an easy choice to do what's right for every single person in a school district.
Great. Thank you for your response. We're going to move on to question number 2. What is the one thing you think that residents should understand about managing the school budget? And you have 2 minutes.
I think the biggest thing to understand is that different people have different views on what's important and what's needed in the school. And the great thing about living in a town that's so big with so many different views is that we can come together as a group and collaborate on that. And everybody's always going to have their things with, you know, this school doesn't have the right this school needs work, you know, this program needs funding. And I think those are all important things to consider, but we have one budget that needs to address all of that. And there's always some concession that's going to be made. I am hopeful that the next year we will be able to move forward with Biden just giving an infusion of money to the schools to help us get beyond this pandemic, that there will be less to consider for certain things and more moving forward. And I'm hoping that when it comes to the budget, we can start to be able to widen things like the tech program and things like that, that, you know, that there are waiting lists for and people are really interested in, but we can't accommodate everybody. So there's no easy answer when it comes to a budget. It's all about working together and having different views come together.
Great, thank you. And now we're going to move on to our last question, question number 3. In your opinion, do Plymouth schools have a problem when it comes to diversity, inclusion, and equity? And what could our schools do to improve the outcomes in those areas? And you have 2 minutes.
I do think that we do have a problem when it comes to diversity, inclusion, and equity. I do think that we've started the process. We've included a lot in our strategic plan, and the doors have been open and things have started moving forward with some of that. I would like to see more diversity among our teachers and our administration. And I would like to see resources to help students who fit non-traditional roles. And I know we've started that too. School provides so much more than education to kids. And when you have so many hurdles at home that help you or hurt you, it's hard to get beyond that. And we need to find a way to help students so that they can just focus on their education. And whether it's right or wrong that schools provide that, they do. Having resources like a resource manager at their disposal that can help them with their social emotional or their home situation or their homelessness so that they can just focus on what they need would start to get towards equity. Diversity, definitely. I would like to see more people represented. When you see yourself represented in a positive role or a role of authority, it helps you to look forward and it helps you to see greater things for yourself. And so I think that's really important for our students of color or our students from immigrant backgrounds, of which we have a huge population right now, to see themselves represented in the people that are with us every day.
Great. Thank you for your response, Kathy. And now we're going to move on to closing remarks. And you will have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Thank you to PACTV for this opportunity here today, and thank you to the viewers for taking the time to listen to the candidates. If elected as your representative for school committee, I bring the drive and determination to this role that I have brought to other roles I've taken on. I care about this town and the people in it. I want to help our children and our teachers recover and excel past the hurdles that have been thrown at us. I believe in supporting the social emotional health of our students and staff. I believe in working hard to close the education gap that has only been made wider by the last year. I believe in making opportunities for schools to be equitable for all students. I support the schools and the phenomenal work they have done in a difficult time, and I want to keep that moving forward. I love this town and believe in our schools. There is much work to be done, and I believe we have a good plan in place to do just that. I'm here to represent you. I will listen with an open mind and collaborate with others to make sure we are finding the best ways to support and represent our children, families, and staff in the best possible ways. Vote for me, Katherine Jackson, on May 15th. It would be an honor to represent this community as a member of the school committee.
Thank you, Kathy, for participating in this interview. And we wish you the best of luck throughout your campaign and into the election. And for our viewers, thank you for joining us. If you're interested in watching replays of this interview, please visit our website, pactv.org/elections, for replay times and online viewing options, including PACTV's on-demand and streaming service, PACTV Prime. And please, make your choices heard by voting in the election on Saturday, May 15th. Thank you and good day.